talk.
Okay. So, thank you for coming out. Two handouts there. One is the Lipoedema leaflet from our lovely Talk Lipoedema charity organization. They're online in all sorts of places. They've got their references there, and they are a great group of people. We also do Scottish meetups fairly regularly pre-COVID. Now we'll get back into it, where we do meet for lunch, chats, chat rooms, things like that. And they like to do road shows where they'll come around to different places and do like a day event and explain things, different things like that. And then I also made up a little list of the names of sugar. Sugar is not our friend. No. So just to have that as a reference. So to get started, who in here has never heard of lipedema before? That's good. People know. Good. So I didn't know.
To be fair, I've heard of it, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Yeah,
what
what
it
it
was.
is, me too.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of ignorance.
And I
to
was
it.
calling it lymphoedema, so that
Uh-huh,
shows
and
that
there's-
And
I don't know if there is a
Exact-
thing called lymphoedema.
Yeah, they're two
Yeah,
different
that's
things.
Right.
And
Right,
the
so I'm not
doctors,
sure then if I've heard
yes,
of lipedema.
doctors don't know either. A lot of
Right.
them don't.
Yes.
So, little health disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional. This is just stuff I've learned from having this condition and just want to get it out there to you. Okay. So, all right. So, just to give an overview first, our lymphatic system is something that is rarely talked about. People generally don't know anything about it or realize that you really even have it. You hear about lymph nodes, especially in regards to cancer, that kind of thing. But the lymph system is all throughout the body. Your tonsils, that's part of the system, your adenoids. So when you get those removed as a kid, that has a knock-on effect. The lymph nodes, do you ever get like that little hard thing in your armpit sometimes? A little bump that comes up, or maybe in your groin? That'll be like a blocked lymph node. And then it just kind of hopefully goes away. Your appendix is even included in the system. Who knew there? So there's, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. And what it does is it sits just below your skin, okay? And it goes along where the circulatory system is, okay? They work together. The lymph system is like the sewer for your body. It's what gets rid of all of the junk. So what happens is your blood brings things to you. It gets transferred in between this, it's called the interstitial fluid, in between the arteries, the veins, and your lymph vessels. There's two things that are different about the lymph system as opposed to your arteries and veins. Arteries your blood moves because your heart pumps. That's just always going. And your valves in your arteries and veins, can allow things to go both directions, okay? In the lymph system, you've got your valves, but it only allows fluid one way. Stuff can't back up. So when you do get a blockage, that's when things back up and you get that hard node like in your groin or your armpit, that sort of thing. That's where the fluid has backed up. And your lymph fluid only moves if you move it, okay? There's no pump to it. So you've got, I think it's about 800 lymph nodes throughout your body. That's the junctions where everything meets up. And about 300 of them are here in your chest area. Chest, you've got lots in the armpit. You always hear about people who have breast cancer surgery, they're checking the nodes because that's a really easy way for cancer to spread. If it gets in the lymph nodes and the lymph vessels, then it can shoot anywhere in your body. So that's why they take them out, biopsy them, that kind of thing. So the only way your lymph fluid moves is if you move. So even like when you first wake up in the morning, first thing you can do before you even get out of bed, if you take some deep breaths, that gets your chest moving, and right there, that gets the lymph fluid moving, okay? So high kudos to people who fidget in their chair, you know, with the whole leg bobbing, that kind of thing. Even that's getting it moving. Walking, moving, anything like that is going to get the lymph fluid moving. And if it's moving, then that means it can be pulling things out from the blood, the bad stuff, and get it out of your body. Okay, so I learned about the lymph system maybe 2013. I started learning about it, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so important. Because you know how it is if your toilet backs up or the sink and the junk can't get moved out. How does that smell?
Yeah.
Bad. And that's kind of what happens when your lymph system gets blocked. Things can't move, they can't escape your body. So it's very, very important that we take care of it. Okay. To me, that's a key to overall health for a lot of things. So lymphedema, people have heard of. Lipedema, two different things. There is some similarities, but they are different. And, you know, like I was saying before, when I first found out about lipedema and thought, you know, I have this, and we went to the GP, she's like, you're making excuses. That's not a thing.
Well,
It's-
she said she basically said to her face, "You're fat, lose weight."
Yes, you get that a lot. You're
Can I
fat,
just say
lose weight.
something? This
Yes.
is a conversation I've had with my GP.
Yeah.
The exact same.
Exactly. Oh, I've got this really bad earache. Well, you know, I'm sorry. You should
Yeah.
probably lose weight.
Yeah.
Or-
I know, but I'm talking about the legs.
Exactly. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything you go into the
Yes.
doc for, they'll throw in the you need to lose weight, which is so frustrating. So, one of the main differences between the two, lipedema is symmetrical. It will affect the lower half of your body evenly, whereas when you have lymphedema, it might affect like one arm. You know, after my dad's cancer treatment and his radiation, his right arm totally swollen because of his reaction to it. It might affect just one leg. So you'll see like a thin leg and a very swollen leg. And the lymphedema will affect like your foot too. Whereas with lipedema, if it's in your arms, it'll stop at your wrist or at the elbow. You'll see like, and there's pictures of this to come, you'll see a big upper arm and then the lower arm's okay. And at the ankle, you have, your leg comes down into this cuff and then the foot's not affected. So the foot looks normal, but your leg does not. So what it is it's a different kind of fat that your body makes. When the fluid isn't moving good between the lymph and the arteries, it backs up and then it gets into cells and the cells get bigger and bigger, okay? And then that makes a different type of fat that is resistant to diet and exercise, okay? So you could be doing everything right and you're not gonna lose the weight like on your lower half. You know, you can often look like two different people, and we've got pictures for that. Your legs can be painful. I don't do that great standing in place for more than a few minutes at a time. I could walk all day. Let me walk all day, especially with you. Can do that. Give me miles. I can do miles. But if you make me stand in place without any of the measures to help me, I'm going to struggle, and the legs are going to feel heavy. They're going to feel thick. They'll be painful. The swelling that doesn't indent if you apply pressure to it. That's one of the differences between lymphedema and lipedema. With lipedema, actually your skin can be quite hard. It can feel hard, and if you push on it, it doesn't indent. Whereas like, you know, with lymphedema, you press on it and that indentation stays there for a while before it comes back. That's a big difference. And you do swell, especially the heat. The heat I find makes me swell a lot more. You know, but elevation is so important for you, but it won't get rid of all the swelling. You bruise easily. Oh my gosh. I was like 40 something when I found out I had this, and all my life I would bruise and you wouldn't know how or when, you know, like the next day you're like, when did I do that? It's so strange with lipedema bruising. something like if I hit myself on the corner of this table, that would really hurt, and that might not bruise as bad as like just simply pressing my arm, hitting my arm against something, and then that bruise comes out and you're like, when did I even do this? You know, just a random, you know, at uni we chalked it up to the drunk bruises, but now I know not all of it was from that. Some, not all. Okay. You do get the small spider veins, the varicose veins around the ankles, kind of inside of the knees, and the ankle cutoff, the cuff is what we call it. It's like your leg just comes down into this cuff, and then there's the rest of the ankle and the foot, totally normal. And I do have pictures of that to show. So there's different stages and types of lipedema, and no two people are going to be exactly the same with how it shows up on them. There's 3 stages, you know, the beginnings of it, kind of the middle, and the third is where things are really progressing. And actually there is a 4th stage, which is where you are called lipolymphedema, where you've got the full-on lymphedema also. But you've got your 3 basic stages as it progresses. Stage 1, the skin's smooth, but there's little like kind of pearl-sized nodules that you might feel under your skin. The goal with education about lipedema, especially the younger you can learn about it, the more you can slow down the progression. So I would love it if women from here on out are just in stage 1, because they're doing the right things to help that. Stage 2, the skin changes. The fibrosis there in the connective tissues, that causes the skin to really change its look. Like in stage 1, you might have a little bit of what we call not cellulitis, I've got that on my mind. Cellulite, yes. But in stage 2, the skin really changes the appearance, okay? Stage 3, you get the larger masses, and on here you can really see, we just call these fat pads. You know, that's the classic name for them. Where, and I'll get into that in a bit, and we've all seen people that look like these stages. And we've all thought, you know, what's up with that? Now we know what that look is. You know, I even walking here tonight, I saw a lady on the street and I thought, surely she must have it, just because the shape can be very classic. Yeah, let's see. And then down here in the corner, the lipedema types. So these are the different body parts where it will affect. So type 1, it's mostly just around the hips, the buttocks, that kind of thing. Stage 2, you're going down to the knee. Stage 3, or type 3, you know, just complete lower body. Stage 4 is where it hits your arms. It's type 4, sorry, and type 5, just the calves. So you can have combinations of these too, where different parts are affected. You know, I know some people, their calves are totally fine, but from the knee up, it's like, what has happened? So yeah, and then you can cross the different stages with the types for the different combinations. Okay. This is a really great graphic which shows you what lipedema fat really looks like. So you've got these nodules over here, and that's where things just haven't gone right between, you know, your lymph system and the arteries, the veins, where the fluid's accumulated, it's gotten in the cells, it's trapped, and it just grows these nodules. Whereas normal fat, it's very smooth, you know, very, very different looking. I've definitely got some nodules here around my elbows, which I can feel, and thankfully they're feeling better at this point in time. But that's a big reason why it's known as the painful fat syndrome, because those nodules, they can really hurt. They can really hurt. You know, they end up, you get enough of them and big enough, they're gonna press on things, and it's just not good. But that's really shows you that it's not just you eat too much, lose weight. Okay. Yeah, different type of fat. So how I found out about lipedema, oh my gosh. In kindergarten, which would be P1 here, normal kid, and go figure I'm wearing a tartan skirt. Who knew? It was destiny that I'd be here in Scotland. Yeah. Towards the end of uni, that's the second picture. My calves are thick. My legs were, I was okay. I was about like, I don't know, 9, 10 stone there. No, it was more like 10 stone. But you know, you get the body dysmorphia and you think, I'm too fat. This is not good. Well, my saddlebags came on when I was around 9 or 10, so that'd be like P5, okay? And that's when the hormones are starting to change for us women. That's part of the whole thing. That third picture, that was probably the best shape of my life. Well, that was a year after boot camp. I'd gotten down to 9 stone. We were in Hawaii. I'd been at the gym, totally fit. I still had my saddlebags. I still had my saddlebags after boot camp. And I thought for sure boot camp was gonna fix me and make me the way I wanted to be. And then that last picture is a few years into being in the reserves. And again, I was in good shape. We were running. This was at our PRT, our physical readiness test. But my calves are thick. They are thick. Yeah. So this was the first time I went overseas, and that was with the Navy. We went to Bahrain and Kuwait. And the irony is, my friend who took the picture, old picture, he scanned it in, and the fade of the picture is right at the midway point. So it's perfect for this. You know, I was lean, I was strong on the top, but on the bottom half, I'm still wide. So you can, when you see the ones on the left there, it does have that look of two different people. When I finished boot camp, I was like a 6'8" on top and still a 12-14 on the bottom. Still needing to wear my control top pantyhose, you know, because that's what we had at the time to smooth everything out. But yeah, but I was happy with the top half. Bottom half, it just always frustrated me. So that's what you'll see with people. You'll see people where their face doesn't match their lower half. They truly look like two different people. And that's another classic sign of the lipedema. So some more pictures of what it looked like. 2010, this was a couple years before I knew I had lipedema. And just in going through some pictures, I noticed, oh my gosh, I have the ankle cuff. I mean, the blown up bit, it's a little fuzzy, but it's like that cuff was there, and I didn't notice it at the time. I did not know that was there. And then in August 2015, I don't know if y'all remember, it was hot. We were down in England for a birthday party for a very special person. And no air conditioning in the rooms we were staying in, and it was like pushing 35 degrees, and the heat, I was miserable, just miserable. So in that instance, a bit of the lymphedema did kick in. The foot was swollen. You can definitely see the cuff, and the ankle was just blown out. So a lot of times with lipedema, we'll end up kind of having what looks like two ankle balls, you know, because you get that lump of fat there too. So this is a really random thing. This has to be lymph related. I'm gonna just, it was fall of 2014. I'm at work and my colleague says, "Hey, what's that?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, there's this lump on your collarbone. And this bit was puffed out, and I'm like, oh, freaked out. I did freak out. That was 2014.
That was 2014, yeah.
Exactly. And we went on holiday to the States, and Dr. Google told me that if something like that is there for 6 weeks, you go to your doctor and get it checked out. Now, my mom had had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at that point in time, but it was a year later my dad ended up with it, and everything kind of pointed to these sorts of things. So that sort of started me on a journey of exploring what is going on in my body. Because of that bump, I got some scans done. I ended up with an endoscopy and breast issues and all sorts of things that year. It really was a wake-up call that things are not right. Only thing I can chalk that up to is my lymph system was just not working, and that it would puff out. It would get really hard sometimes, and it would depend on what I'd eaten. Certain foods would inflame me more, and it would just pop out and be painful, and it would take a few hours to subside after I'd eaten. Did not know what happened. And then a few years later, I'm at home with my parents, and I looked in the mirror and I realized it's gone. It's like, when did this happen? That would have been, I think, in 2019 when I had really started making some changes. So we never did truly find out what it was.
The doctors will scratch your head.
They're like, I don't know, we don't know. We don't know what this is. So just a couple of photos. It's always fun to wear the same shirt and see the difference. So yeah, in 2017, again, that was a night of celebrating somebody's birthday. And you get the pictures taken and you're like, oh God, don't tag me in this on Facebook, please. I don't want people to see it. Because with myself, you remember how you used to look and you think you're that way, and you're in a bit of denial. Am I really this size? July 1st, 2019, hubby and I do some extras work, so getting the pictures done to put out to the agencies. And that was the day I decided I'm gonna go back to keto and low carb. We're gonna sort out what's going on. It had been a really rough year prior with my mom passing, some depression, getting on medication for that, some pain issues because I'd gotten diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And I thought, let's try and get some of this weight off. Let's do this with food. And by the year later, everything had changed. Even by August, in the middle of August, I remember I woke up one morning, having changed what I was eating. I realized, oh, my feet don't hurt before I get out of bed. That was huge for me. Pain levels right down, and we'll get to why that is. So I thought I'll just put the same outfit on, leggings. So then it's like, what a difference that just changing up how you eat it can make. So inflammation is the issue that we have. It's a good thing. We need inflammation. When you cut your finger, you cut yourself, what happens? It gets red, it gets a bit swollen. That's the body going into protection mode and healing mode so you can recover from that. That's a good thing. Short term, good. We like that. Long-term inflammation, though, that's where you have problems, and you might not know why you've got this long-term inflammation. It's hard to know why. And the inflammation is what drives different diseases, different issues, your diabetes, heart disease, liver, these things. It's the view is coming around to obesity isn't just being fat, it's a symptom of inflammation. Your body is inflamed. What you're putting in it is causing this inflammation. It gets bigger, that kind of thing. So bear that in mind. It's a different way to look at the weight problems. Okay. Now, how nutrition affects your inflammation. So I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get it right. a big problem many people are having now is insulin resistance. Okay, your insulin is key to your body. It takes the sugar from the bloodstream to the muscles and the tissues so you can function. That's pretty basic. Okay, estrogen, our female favorite hormone, actually optimizes how insulin works in your body. So you need to have it. Men need to have some insulin or estrogen. That's critical. What happens is insulin resistance occurs when we take in too much sugar or refined carbs. And when I'm saying sugar, I'm blanketing all forms. You know, there's sugar in vegetables, fruits, you know, all of that, and the refined stuff. So when we have too much sugar, the body just can't handle what to do with it. And then your hormones get off balance and everything's just not right. So, insulin resistance. That is the diminished ability of cells to respond to the action of insulin in transporting glucose from the bloodstream into the muscle and other tissues. Okay, so insulin resistance will develop with obesity. They kind of can go hand in hand, and it can bring in type 2 diabetes. That's happening so much now to so many people. Think of it this way. The insulin is knocking on the cell door, okay? And in your muscles. It's knocking on it. It needs to get in there so that the muscle can work right, okay? And do what it needs to do. So when you have too much insulin, it's like the knock gets louder and louder and harder, but the door's not being answered. And then your body's like, oh, what do we do? So the pancreas creates more insulin, and it's just this cycle where it can't get in, your body creates more, you become insulin resistant, so your body's not using the insulin that's there the way it should. Pancreas makes more, and it just keeps going around and around, and that's where the diabetes comes in. Okay, so I want to make sure I got all of this. You know, if you're in the balance and you're not making too much insulin, just the right amount, then your cells will work. Everything's smooth. It's when you're taking in too much, creating too much of an insulin response, the type 2 diabetes, those things kick in. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we learn how to fix this? You know, with COVID, we've all been hearing about the studies and different people, you know, how many people are in the cohort. Well, what's important is to have N equals 1, and that 1 is you. You are your own study. Everybody is different. So what works for me might not work for you. What foods inflame my body, you know, hubby and I, we can't necessarily eat the same things. You know, even, you know, the people you're related to, you're just different. So one family member might be great with tomatoes, another can't do them, you know. So you need to take the time to learn what is inflammatory to you, okay? The best way to do that, an elimination diet, where you take a few weeks of cutting out the big inflammers, you know, your grains, your sugar, your dairy, these sorts of things. You let your body have a rest from that, and then you can add something back in one at a time. You don't just automatically go to having a piece of cake and think, what you know, has that caused me inflammation? Because what's in cake? You got your grains, you got eggs, you got dairy, you know, it's too much of a mix. You want to add one thing kind of back in, see how your body responds to it. And when you determine what works for you, it can be a long process. I admit it. And people just want the quick fix. They want to take a pill that's going to make them feel better. But doing this in the long run will help you out so much. And then you know what to avoid, what not to avoid. And the thing is, when you take the time to heal your gut that way, that's what happened for me starting July 1st, 2019. I decided something's not right here. 2 weeks later, I went and got some testing, and sure enough, candida everywhere. So We removed the things that are really not good for candida and spur on the growth. So I was already pretty much grain free and down on the sugar, but we, for me at that time, we cut out mushrooms, they're fungus. We cut out grapes in all of its forms, sadness, no wine. What else did we cut out? I limited the berries that I ate. For fruit, I could only have a few berries a day because they do have the fructose in them, which is good. When you eat a whole berry, that's good because you're also getting fiber and the whole package. If you just drink like a glass of orange juice or apple juice, that's just like, that's pouring fuel on the fire. That's just pure sugar going in your body. So we pulled out dairy too, because I was doing dairy, and things changed for me very quickly. And the thing is, when you pull these things out and give your body a chance to heal, you might be able to have those things again. It could very well be that you can tolerate them in small bits, down the road after your body's healed, your gut microbiome has all gotten back into balance. You need good bacteria, you need bad bacteria, you need both. But with the way our diets are these days, we're just getting so much of the stuff that promotes the bad bacteria. When you're craving something, that's usually because that bacteria in there is saying, I want this now, I need to get my crack so I can feel normal. Addiction is not, it's not getting a high anymore. Addiction is all about feeling normal. Okay, keep that in mind. And when you deal with the inside, the outside does follow. It's like you might not actually lose a pound for quite some time, but you're gonna notice other changes. Like my pain levels dropped, sleeping better. Skin tags disappeared. Those are often caused by sugar. Who knew? I didn't know. Now I do. Scotland, I will just put a plug for Scotland here. This is the best place, I think, to go through menopause, because I was right in the thick of it when all of that started in 2019. And I realized a couple months later, that was my last hot flash. Sugar can really, really drive the hot flashes. It's amazing. Just amazing. So fix the inside, the outside does follow. If you go on any sort of course to lose some weight, you always want to take some measurements too, because the scale might not move, but if the bloating goes, if you're less inflamed, you do shrink. You will feel it. And if the scale hasn't moved that week, but you've taken your measurements and you're seeing that steady progress, that's huge. That's huge. So, and dealing with lipedema, dealing with any kind of, food-related health issue, it is so much more than just the food. There's other things you need to do for self-care. Mirror neurons. You two are going to know what those are, I'm guessing. Yes?
I don't know what
No.
mirror.
Mirror
I knew what
neurons.
neurons
Okay.
are, but not mirror.
Mirror. So we all have them in our brains, and mirror neurons are these things in our brains to where who we hang with is how we behave. What we watch on TV, social media, how we see that, the more of it we see it influences us,
What should
I know. It's funny because a couple months ago we really weren't watching that much TV. I was binging, on the Netflix and all these things. And what's great about that is you don't get the adverts, so you're not constantly being bombarded by these companies that want you to buy their stuff, their food products. And I will also mention Big Tobacco bought the food companies in the 80s. Okay, the whole smoking thing was starting to decline. They got to make their money. They know how to get people addicted. They bought the food companies. They have, all of the big companies have people working for them that know exactly how to manipulate a recipe to where you're going to want more. Okay, so one thing that's important is it's not your fault. They are manipulating you. And like I was saying with the TV, watching the Smithsonian Channel, highly recommend it. Watching Netflix, these things, you're not getting the KFC adverts on the Smithsonian Channel, these sorts of things. And one day I was working on the computer, turned the TV on, and just, something mindless in the background and a real popular channel. And it was nonstop food and this and that. And it's like, all of a sudden I'm thinking, I need a bucket of KFC, like now, because that steady pressure, having all of those things up at the checkout at the stores, that's so you'll buy it. It's there. Oh, I need it. What you watch, what you take in your mind, who you hang out with, it all has an effect on what you do. You're mirroring what's around you. Okay, so your brain does that, and that's a survival thing. That's so you can. Back in the day, you had to hang with the tribe in order to make it, that kind of thing. So really think about what's going in your mind, because it's so powerful. It really, really affects you. You know how it is. You see something on TV and you think, oh, I have to have this thing. Like now, what do? You go on Amazon or to the shop and you get it. And it's like, but did you really need it? Why did you need it? Anyway. Another thing that's been very helpful to me, meditation and visualization. I could talk for hours about this man, John Gabriel, who had a total transformation. We can do that offline. Visualization, seeing yourself where you want to be, how you want to be. Very, very important, because if you see it, you can become it. I know that sounds very simple, but that's just how it is. That's all right. What we eat can inflame us, but also what we put on our body can inflame us too. So I would say, please take the time to look at what the chemicals are in the skincare, all of your personal hygiene items, the things you use, because that can have an effect too that you don't even think about. What's in your deodorant? Think about that. Your deodorant, where do you put it? Your armpit. What do you have in your armpit? A lot of lymph nodes. That's an easy access point for things to get in through the skin and get into your system. So also take the time for self-care. I hope during COVID people have enjoyed having some downtime, some time to just not be go, go, go all the time. For some, that's a nightmare. For others of us, it's like, yes. So take the time to do the things, We've got a massage place here in the village now. We can make use of that. Go for the long walks. You want to lower your cortisol? Go take like a 45-minute leisurely walk. That will lower your cortisol right away. Anything for self-care. Do these things. It's not selfish to care for yourself. And really sleep. Sleep has got to be the most important thing to do. That's when your body heals. If you're not getting good sleep, your body's not going to be able to heal. So even if you don't change how you eat, if you can get better quality sleep, that's when a lot happens in your body. If the things change, you lose weight. Some of your weight you lose through your breathing. Okay, that's one way the weight comes off. But sleep, if you're not sleeping, you could be doing everything else right, and if the sleep component's not there, you're going to struggle. Okay. So things that are inflammatory that we eat, the sugary beverages, the fruit juice, and then juice here, your sodas, that sort of thing. Your refined carbs. When a grain is refined, think about it. Cocaine, heroin, how are those made? The seeds, those things are refined down into the powder, that kind of thing. Your desserts, because they're full of chemicals, all of this and that and the other. Processed meats, you gotta watch what's in those. Your snack foods. certain oils, you know, a lot of the vegetable oils that are supposed to be healthy, really, it's not like it's a vegetable anymore. The stuff's been processed so much, you know. Yeah, it's not, the health benefits just aren't there. Trans fats, the partially hydrogenated, too much alcohol, a little bit, hey, it can do some good things for you. Too much, not so much. So what should you eat for lipedema? Dr. Mark Hyman, I love him. He's somebody to follow. What does he say? Eat food with one ingredient. So you're eating the whole foods. I know that sounds super simple, but that's really, you know exactly what's in it that way. Your whole foods, things that are unprocessed, your fruits, your veg. You know, if you can get organic, not everything has to be organic. Some things are better that way. Grass-fed meats, grass-finished meats, you know. Sometimes, you know, cattle, things like that, they're grass-fed all along, and then when they get to the feedlot, they get pumped up with the grains for those last few weeks, you know, to get them bigger so they can make more money off them. You know, your healthy fats, you know, your olive oil, avocado, coconut, those sorts of things, very healthy. You know, I use a bit of sunflower oil, but I use it that's been made cold pressed. So it's not gone through the whole process of the heating and all the chemicals added and this and that. Cold pressed. So, and like I had said, you need to find out what is inflammatory to you. Everybody's different. N equals 1. Disease runs in families because eating habits runs in families. Okay? There's a difference between something being genetic and something being hereditary. You know, your traditions that get passed down. You know, you'll see families where like everybody ends up with a certain type of disease. They're all eating the same way, you know. That's a very, very powerful thing to think about. And I made up that graphic not long after I'd started my journey in 2019. That's a phrase in the States we would hear a lot. Nothing tastes as good as being skinny. And it's like, no, not for me, not for me. Pain-free. That's where I try to focus my eating. Anything that goes in, it can benefit me or it can be hurtful. So I make the choices for being beneficial, okay? With lipedema, you know, it's very, very, very important. You know, your body's already in this inflammatory state. So anything that you can do or what you eat, what you put on it to help it not add to the inflammation, that's so important. Couple of resources here, like the Talk Lipedema, that's what those leaflets are. What else do I want to say? Like with the sugar, I myself am a sugar addict. I have tried to moderate it my whole life. I can go a certain length, and then I can't. And then it triggers the binge, and then once I start, you know, I've always been amazed at people who can sort of pick at their cake. And I'm sitting there thinking, when can I get a second piece? You know?
One piece of chocolate.
One piece of chocolate. Who eats one piece? That kind of thing. There's the whole addiction side of it. That's a whole other topic. I truly wish I could moderate. I truly do. Personally, I just can't. Does anybody have any questions? Please ask questions.
Is there a direct correlation between lipedema and inflammatory inflammation?
Yeah.
Is it like an autoimmune disease?
In a way, and a lot of people with lipedema will have other conditions. There's like a lot of people have hypermobility.
Oh, yes.
Strange, okay. There's a thing called Derkham's disease, which are these bumps that come up that are very painful. Ehlers-Danlos. Yes, exactly. A lot of people have that. Exactly. So it's not just, it can be multiple things, not just the one that you're dealing with.
What was the face? one of the
Really
things that we
weird, I've just
noticed
mentioned
was it triggered, you had the condition.
Yeah.
It was unbeknownst, but then there's something triggered it to make it.
Yes.
Because we were on the flight to Canada.
Yes, I'm
and
really
so we
glad
got
you
off
said
the
that.
Does that
plane.
flare up?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll let you.
This is important. Lipedema will kind of amp up a level at different hormonal stages in your life. So like my saddlebags came on when I was getting ready for puberty, when I was around like 10. When you have a child, that can amplify it. Menopause, big stressor. But stress also will do it. You know, I was flying all the time, never had a problem. My legs were fine. We had this very stressful situation happen, and we had to go to Canada at the last minute. And that was the first time I long haul flied, and my legs they did the pop out thing then. They swelled up, so let's go to the store, get the water pills, legs up on the wall. Nothing's happening. A dear friend of ours in the lipedema community, she had a couple of family members die like about six weeks apart. She was teaching water aerobics and this and that sort of thing, and her calves went from like 23 centimeters to 45 centimeters in 6 weeks. You know, it's stress really can affect this. You know, your hormonal imbalances, the stress. You know, I haven't had any children. Who knows what shape or stage I'd be in had I, but I can mark when it's gotten worse in me by different stressful periods in life. Absolutely.
And is there a connection between lipodemia and lymphedema?
You can have both.
Yeah.
You can have both. There's some similarities and dissimilarities,
Yeah.
but you can end up with both. Absolutely.
Is there more chance of you getting the second, the latter, if you have lymphedema, or is this one, you know, open the door for the other one, or?
Not necessarily. If you have lymphedema,
Mhm.
you're not necessarily going to get the
Yeah.
lipedema, but with the lipedema,
And
it's
that
it's
first, and that might come
it's
in.
more probable
Yeah.
to head for the lymphedema. Yeah,
So would you put it on the spectrum of autoimmune disease?
absolutely. Yeah,
So it can be accompanied with another, like
Mhm.
you've got fibromyalgia.
yeah. And fibro, you know, if you're familiar with it, it's like an umbrella name for a cluster of symptoms. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of them are.
Yeah.
Very few are nicely specific. I suppose rheumatoid arthritis is quite
Exactly.
specific, but
Yeah.
it can come with, you know, people
Yeah.
have lupus and that overlaps.
Exactly. And
I've got Sjogren's syndrome and that overlaps with a whole lot of
absolutely.
things.
Absolutely. It's never just one thing, is
no,
it?
no.
No.
And I
No.
don't think there's a nice line of demarcation between them all. They're kind of
No.
spectrum.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
lipedema would be on that spectrum.
Yeah.
Is it recognised as on that spectrum?
Not really. Not really. They say 11% of women have lipedema. That's the estimate.
Why
So-
is it only women? Is it
Men can get it too. I will put that out there. I would say one of my male cousins, I think he has it, and he thinks he does too. He went through a weight loss period, and again his face didn't match. He was carrying it more on his lower half. Men can get it when their testosterone's super low and the estrogen's super high. Okay. Yeah.
So it's
It does happen. It's just very rare.
definitely estrogen, isn't it?
Yeah, estrogen plays into it. Yeah.
Is there any racial component? I mean, the Asians suffer it less, or
I'm not totally sure. We do have a real mixed community in our different groups. You know, there's a variety of people. So it would be interesting to see. I'm just going to guess here that maybe Asian women would have it less because their diet overall is healthier.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
looking at Japanese men,
Mhm.
for instance, they have far fewer heart attacks than European men,
Mm-hmm.
despite having bad habits.
Yes.
So why is that?
Yeah.
Like smoking.
Well,
and
smoking, yeah.
stuff.
and
Yes.
nobody knows that.
Exactly.
And that is a function of the way they metabolize fat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there not something that you looked into? It was we were talking on that sort of the different racial components to this, but there was something about the Native American
Mhm.
conditions to certain things that happen, like Native Americans, that they have a low tolerance of alcohol.
Yeah.
There's the way that ingests,
Mhm.
but also with the women, the shape of the women. When you look at the way the women are
Mhm.
shaped, there's a propensity to possibly
Yes.
lipedema.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that's part of your genetic makeup because
Yeah.
you have.
There's a
part
bit of that
it,
in
there's a bit
there.
of that in
Yeah.
it. So that's
Um,
something you kind of looked into
yeah.
a little bit, didn't you?
It is definitely a genetic thing. It gets passed down. Not every generation's going to get it, and you don't just get it from your mother. The father's side of the family can pass it also. So if you've got any old pictures, it'd be really interesting to look at the legs, and see how they were back in the day. But yeah, it may skip, and it may also not hit every female in a family. Like one of my sugar coaches, she found out she had it. There's 4 of them, 4 sisters. 2 have it, 2 don't.
Mhm.
So very, very different body shapes going on there in the family. Yeah.
Does it literally comes back to N equals 1?
Yes. Yeah. We are all an individual. Everybody's different.
Do you run any groups for?
We've got like the Scottish component of talk lipedema, but I would really like to get some local groups going
Yeah.
to where we can talk about this and set some strategies and encourage each other, use our mirror neurons to help each other, deal with this. Like we were talking at the beginning, so many, I see so many posts in our private groups of, I went to the doctor today because of this thing, and all they did was tell me I need to lose weight, which has nothing to do with their health issue. Or you're lying in your food journal. One of my friends became anorexic as a teenager. She got her waist down to 18 inches, but her hips were still 42. And it's when that's why I gotta admit I was excited to go to boot camp, because I thought I'm gonna finally get myself sorted out here, and it didn't happen. It just didn't totally happen. I just could not lose the saddlebags, and I had the cellulite at a fairly early age that came on maybe around like 12.
So you feel you had this even in primary school?
Yeah.
Well-
It started showing up in me.
Like
Yeah.
a whole range of autoimmune diseases
Mm-hmm.
that happens, but the medical profession doesn't believe it.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
like Sjogren's syndrome, oh, you're always old when you get it. No, some
No.
people have it when they're 6 years
Yes.
old.
You're always old when you get diagnosed with it.
Yes.
Like if you
Yes.
come up with type 2 diabetes, it's not like all of a sudden the switch flipped and you've got type 2. No, that's been brewing for a number of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So message me anytime
Have you got any details or?
On-
is it on the-
on the bottom of the sugar handout.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah.
That's great.
So please, by
Thank
all
you very
means.
much. See you
Yes,
later.
thanks.
That was excellent.
Yes.
Can I ask as well,
Yeah.
do you know if there's any connection to thyroid problems?
I've been looking at a lot of stuff online, and I think thyroid can often be an issue with this too. Just from some things I was reading over this past week. Yeah.
There are some types of thyroid problems that are on the spectrum of autoimmune
Yeah.
disease.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
So,
know. I'm there as well.
Whether
Like
it's,
Graves' disease.
yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
My daughter's got Hashimoto's.
Hashimoto's. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
opposite of Graves, isn't it?
Mhm.
In fact, my whole family has come from my mother-in-law, and it's passed down to my husband, and my
Yeah.
4 kids have it.
Mhm.
So that's a propensity to put weight on,
Yes.
Yeah.
whereas Graves you get.
But my
Tend to
husband,
get
my
thin.
husband,
I'm just in my thyroid out,
Yeah.
so the weight's just going on.
So that's a whole new strategy you've got to take in to compensate for that not being there.
And are you taking thyroxine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was on carbamazole, I was told I could only take it for so long.
Yeah.
I was on it for about 6 years.
Ah.
So it was only meant to be 2 years. So
Yes.
I never had a choice. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not a nice thing that, you know,
Mm-mm.
the
No.
swelling with at least I don't get that, you know, I get different issues, but
My daughter's got a go
it's
with
a
it.
Harry
Yes.
Potter.
Yeah.
See, my older daughter's got that, my Chloe's got that.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the underactive.
Yeah.
And my relatives, my aunts have all got underactive. I'm the only one with Graves' disease.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
So
So
it's
again,
still
you're
there.
all related,
Mhm.
but you're all very different. Exactly.
It's just interesting, you know, how because I can think of people in the family. who,
Yes.
You know, it's like even when my girls they've got Ehlers-Danlos like me
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
And growing up, all these things are all connected. You know, even Ehlers-Danlos is connected to the thyroid. It's all interrelated, interconnected.
Absolutely.
And arthritis I've got as well.
Totally.
It's all.
I'm gonna give a shameless plug for a friend of mine, one of my best friends. She got diagnosed with rheumatoid a couple of years ago. She's got the luxury of having a swim spa, so she can, you know, it's like a treadmill for swimming. So she's in that thing every day. She was always a swimmer and was a lifeguard and that kind of thing. That's her deal. I did not even tell you what you should do to help lipedema, so I will do that. But she started out, she got put on the medication for the rheumatoid. They went low carb / keto. That's sort of a blanket term. And it's about 2 years now. She's down to just a quarter of a pill like once a week, all in changing how she eats, because the sugar will really amp up your rheumatoid and cause pain. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, you know, one thing my sugar coaches said that has really stuck with me, and this is how I look at it, you know, when you say no to something, like, no, I'm not going to eat this, you're saying yes to something else. You know, you've got both sides going there. I'm not going to eat the cake today. I'm going to sleep good tonight, and I'm going to feel good tomorrow when I wake up. I'm not going to be in pain. You know, it's all in how you look at it. You know, you could think, I'm a victim here, I can't have all this great stuff. Well, what has all this great stuff done for you, to be honest? Yeah. Things to help with lipedema, and they're, you know, any kind of, you know, movement. So like rebounder, you know, the mini trampolines, even if you just stand on that and do your bouncing, that gets your lymph fluid moving. The vibration plate, I cannot imagine living without one now. Standing on that thing.
It's almost broke.
I know, we need a new one. This one's just about died to death.
They are fantastic.
It's like 5-6 years old now, so it's 5 years old, so yeah. I wear the compression every day. I have compression leggings on, but I also have the full length compression. Just wearing those will help. It presses, since your lymph system is just under your skin, you need that pressure to also help move the lymph through. Like people go and get manual lymphatic drainage massage, MLD, and that's not like you're getting kneaded on and really pressed. No, it's really light movements that gets the lymph moving, you know, that sort of thing. Dry skin brushing, do that before you jump in the shower. A couple things. You're gonna get your dead skin cells off, so do it in the shower. So it's not so messy, but it's also gonna help your circulation. It's gonna help get the lymph fluid moving. You know, there's just little things like that all add up to help make your life so much better. Working at the retail store here in the village, if I wasn't wearing my compression and my leggings and comfortable shoes, gotta plug comfortable shoes, there's no way I could have done that job, especially not the 8-hour shifts. I would, you know, by the end of the weekend, when you do your 2 long shifts, you're ready to sit down, but without doing my things, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to cope. Being in the water, so many of our lipedema ladies have really struggled this past year not being able to get to a pool. When we went to Spain and I got in the pool and I tried swimming for the first time in decades because I wasn't going to be out in a swimsuit anywhere, I thought, let's go for a swim. Well, I was much bigger than I'd ever been, and my buoyancy was completely off, and I just couldn't do it. But what I do enjoy is walking and jogging in the pool. And when you're upright in the water, that water acts as compression. So actually being more upright in the water gives you more compression. Doing your water aerobics, jogging in the water, doing those sorts of movements, very, very beneficial. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I feel like I've totally forgotten a lot. I could talk about this stuff for hours though. Yeah. Sleep, absolutely. Get your sleep. The other thing, like I was all lymph system. Now I'm all lymph system and vagus nerve, which is what puts you in fight or flight or rest and digest. And I found out there's also freeze, which I was a freeze kid. I didn't know that was part of it until just this past year. Have you ever like eaten certain things one day, you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh, a couple pounds lighter, this is great. So you think, I'm gonna eat the same way. And the next day you haven't lost or you're up a pound or two. Well, your body definitely responds to whether you're in fight or flight or rest and digest. You know, we've all been chronically under fight and flight with COVID and the way everything's been. If you can do things to stimulate your parasympathetic, that's going to help you digest your food better. One of my classmates in my training program, she didn't change what she ate. She changed how she ate, and in a couple weeks she'd lost 7 pounds.
So what did she do?
So when you stimulate your vagus nerve, what your vagus nerve is the nerve that comes out, goes down, and it's the communication highway to all of your organs, your internal organs. It's where the messages go back and forth. When you get that gut instinct to do something, that's literally your gut telling your brain, go do this. 80% of the communication goes from your organs to your brain. Only 20% is your brain telling your organs what to do. That's very powerful. So again, what you're putting in your body, what you're eating, what's going through this will affect everything. You know, it'll affect your brain, this sort of thing. So it's kind of opposite to me, the way it's phrased. If you stimulate your vagus nerve, that puts you in rest and digest. You would think stimulating something would amp you up, but it doesn't. So another thing I've started doing that helps me is I'll use some essential oils behind my ears, because your vagus nerve comes out of the brain back here, it goes down, gets to all the organs. So that's an easy point to. I put some certain oils on, and that helps me relax, and I can really tell when I don't do it in the morning. I'm just that.
Can I ask what
yeah.
oils is it? Does it
I
matter?
use lime and clove. I learned about that from a lady in the States who's got, that's her business. Your deep breathing, taking the time just to do some deep breathing in and letting it all relax, that helps calm you down. Margaret's the one who picked up on the whole thing of praying before you eat. You know, that's just a way to stop, sit, take a moment, relax, and then start eating. Because, you know, if you're in fight or flight and you eat a meal, it sits there like a rock in your stomach. We've all experienced that, where you eat something, you're not happy, you're upset about something, you're stressed out, and it's right there.
Habit as well. I mean,
and eating
my
quickly.
big problem is I eat fast.
Yeah.
And the reason I eat fast is having done shift work and having
Yeah.
been a police officer, you wolf your food down because you don't know when you're going to get to eat next or whatever, and you eat like it's like your life depends on it.
Exactly.
And what happens is you end up. I'm not as active as I was, but what's happening is I'm still eating the same way because it's a habit. It's a hereditary. It's a eat because you don't know when you're not going to.
Exactly.
And it's just that ability to be able to take the pause and go, stop, slow down, wait. It's like training a dog. Wait. Now eat.
Because you really start your digestion even just by smelling your food. And then that kicks in the saliva in your mouth. So the slower you can eat, the more you can chew, the easier it is on your stomach to digest, first off. And then you can, if you're eating in rest and digest, you're going to absorb more nutrition from your food too than if you're eating in fight or flight. And who knew? Who knew? These are things I wish I knew 30, 40 years ago. What a difference that would have made in my life, you know? But better late than never. So how you eat really can change how your body takes in the nutrition and everything. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Vibrate, move, compression.
Do you have
Yeah.
any views on eating wheat?
From, you know, it's funny. I don't know, was it like 10 years ago I stopped wanting to drink beer because I didn't feel good after I ate it. For me, grains, wheat, those sort of the refined ones, they just don't sit well. You know, for me, I will react fairly quickly. That's the other thing with inflammation to food is we eat things and we get that dopamine hit and we feel real good because it tastes good and our brain went, whew, thank you. But you might not actually react to it until the next day.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily tie together what's affected you.
I discovered I was celiac maybe
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Game changer.
Oh,
Yeah.
total game changer.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was sometimes, I don't know where I was, I
Mhm.
can't even remember parts of my life.
Yes.
You know, it was like fogs I was in,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
absolutely like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it, just by chance, my older daughter stays in Lanzarote, and her best friend there had been diagnosed with celiac. And she says, Mum, you are so the same as
Yeah.
Gemma in so many ways, everything, she says. And she just had a child, my daughter, and I
Yeah.
was living in Lanzarote for a few months to help her.
Yeah.
And she went out, she gave me a cupboard in her kitchen. That's all gluten free.
Yeah.
See how we go on, because you're going to be here anyway.
Yeah.
Total game changer.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. Could not believe how I felt.
No.
I had
No.
more energy. I didn't have sore heads. I wasn't feeling sick. I
Mhm.
wasn't just going to sleep like that.
Yeah.
Literally, if I have any kind of week now, I'll go to sleep within an hour. It's like unconscious.
Yeah. Makes you, it just,
It's the
you're
most bizarre
tired.
thing.
Yeah.
That's how my family know when I've been gluten-fied. They
Yes.
say, "Oh, she's out yet."
Yes. And the way that stuff gets hidden in
Oh, it's
so much
terrible.
stuff. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It turns out, because I've got an autoimmune disease, and that a lot of people who are not celiac still do better without wheat.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's as if the
Absolutely.
wheat, I mean, I was actually told wheat itself is inflammatory
It
Mhm.
is.
because it was never, the plant didn't want the grain to be eaten.
Yes.
It was meant to pass through birds intact.
Yes.
And when we try to digest grain, and wheat's the worst,
Mhm.
the body partially digests it, but it can't completely digest it because
Yeah.
it's indigestible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sets up, because it's like a foreign substance, it sets up an inflammation in your body.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know if that's backed up with a lot of evidence or not, but that's what
Yeah.
people say.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
The book Wheat
Yeah.
Belly.
So
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
without being a celiac, you
Yeah,
know.
it
That's
makes so
just
much
being,
sense.
Exactly.
Well, no, I had a hysterectomy 2 years ago, and since then, I never really had a lot of. I had a slight irritable bowel, but no, it wasn't bad.
Mhm.
Since I've had my hysterectomy, and I was put into a surgical menopause because I had
Yeah.
some ovaries taken out, and since then it's like there's more foods I can't eat.
Mhm.
Everything has, and literally it's getting quicker reactions. So I've just
Yeah.
decided I've cut out bread totally. I've cut out other things. I'm now heading towards cutting out dairy
Mhm.
because it's just all.
Dairy. Oh my gosh. When I do have it, you get that phlegmy mucus in your throat. I'll notice the next morning I'm that kind of thing. the nose goes a bit more too.
That's what cleared up my
That's
problem was always, I
interesting.
thought it was hay fever.
That's
And I would
really
Yeah.
I would wake up in the morning blocked, I
Yeah.
would have to get it cleared or whatever.
Yeah.
And the minute I
Yeah.
stopped taking dairy, the minute I stopped putting milk in things,
Yeah.
ice cream, all the rest of it, it's just stopped happening. I
Absolutely.
wake up in the morning, I can breathe.
And you,
Yeah, I should try that.
yeah. Well, and we play around with different types, you know, like the Manchega cheese is from sheep. Sheep and goats milk are slightly different.
So you
And
can
even
eat
with-
manchego?
I
Is that-
have a little bit of that here and there.
I
Yeah,
like that.
But like what is it? Even within cows, you've got A1 cows and A2 cows, and their biology makeup is slightly different to where the A2 cows are kinder to us. I'll put it that
Okay.
way.
And how would you know which when you're
It's the types of breeds. Like we've got a guy in the village that raises the Dexter cows. Those are A2.
right?
So, yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's fascinating. Isn't
yeah,
It? It's
yeah.
like, oh,
The effect that food has on you.
Yeah.
absolutely.
because you know your brain fog from the wheat.
Oh, it was
That's
so bad.
that's your gut
So bad.
telling your
Yeah.
And I didn't
Yeah.
appreciate how bad it was until
don't.
I was feeling a lot better.
yeah.
And then my daughters are saying, you know, Mum, you would have done that then. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously. Or do you not remember? No, I don't remember anything. It was just they were like, it was constant, Mum. It was like as if you were just in another planet half the time.
Absolutely.
I was like, well, really? Why do you not to say anything?
I
Do you know,
know.
they just
I know.
sort of go along with it and make sure we kind of made sure you were okay. And then I remember one night we went to Italian and not Italian, it was a Mexican,
Mhm.
and it was a Mexican restaurant and the rest of the family had come over, and I was sort of sitting on the fence whether this was working or not,
Yeah.
and I had a fresh made burrito thing,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, and I said, oh, that's beautiful, they made it Frontiers, and
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
Melted in the mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't even remember the next 3 days.
No.
I was ill,
Wow.
sick, everything. Oh,
Yeah.
could not, sore heads. Oh,
Sometimes we need
irritable
those
as well,
reminders,
really
don't we?
irritable,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
really annoyed with things.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, if I ever had a doubt, there we go, that's us, confirmed it all.
Yeah.
I think it was worse as well because they need to diagnose celiac or anything like that, you need to be able to be taking it. You need to
Yes.
you know,
If you
can't take
stop
if
it,
you
they
stop.
can't test
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
When I
Exactly.
come back, it's with Dr. Jeff says to me,
He's
Jim,
brilliant. Yeah.
if you've been noticed, this is pointless. But
Yes.
then I was kind of weaning stuff, taking stuff back in, and I was scheduled for a school,
Yes.
and it was that it sort of confirmed everything. But
Mhm.
anyway, I knew it anyway. You know, it just was so obvious.
Mhm.
But this is just interesting how it's all interrelated.
It's
everything,
connected.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this the skin thing where you're saying, I have so many years I've looked at my legs and think, and I've been told it's just varicose veins. I've had my veins operated on twice.
Yeah.
And it looks horrific, but as if the pockets are worse round about it.
Mm.
You know, they're all round about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, even getting tickled in all my life, it was
Mhm.
agony.
Yeah.
Somebody
Some
to
people
touch my
can
leg. I'm
can.
like, don't touch my leg.
Yes.
Oh my god, agony, absolute agony.
Some people are very very
My girls are
sensitive
the
that
same
way.
as well, so this is what I'm thinking there. You can't tickle them or touch their arms and there are
Yeah.
very sensitive.
That's
Bruises,
yeah.
you think I had been assaulted.
I know. I know.
That's
That's what hit me when
crazy.
when we were living in the Northeast. My weight had stayed stable, and then that summer, my long sleeve T-shirts that I would wear to work suddenly were tight on my arms, and it's like, but the scale hasn't changed. What's
Yeah.
going on? That was the lipedema developing in my
Yeah.
arms. So the sleeves they just got
That's
tighter
what
and
happens to
tighter.
me.
Yeah, and it's like, what is going on here? That was before I knew what it was. And
Definitely-
yeah, the
Definitely
year
think it's hormone related as
it's
well.
very much, yeah.
Everything's changed so much for me since the thyroid's come out. I get that out literally the week
Yeah.
of lockdown. I was
Ah.
sort of, it was kind of weird. It was listening to a sci-fi movie because it was like the day they announced they were shutting down,
Yeah.
and all the surgeons and people in the waiting room started disappearing. And
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on?
You're
Anyway,
kind of
my
lucky
surgeon
you got
still
it.
did
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
still went ahead with it, but I never seen a surgeon. That 2-3 months, no, maybe a month ago was the first I seen her since the operation. I know.
That's a little too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you are you happy that you're getting the right amount of thyroxine?
Well, it's been a challenge.
Yeah.
The surgeon, I'm hat off to the surgeon. She's been absolutely brilliant. She sort of set the ante, and she had given me the calcidol as well because of parathyroid gland. She thought she might have damaged that, so I've been had to top up on that, but she's worked out okay. But there have had a few bleeps,
Yeah.
you know, sort of this. for
It's a
some
trial to figure out what's the right
it's
dose.
the weirdest thing because we're not having a thyroid. The last conversation, I get my bloods done every 3 months or 2 months, is it? I don't know. Anyway, the last conversation with the GP was, it's as if you've got an overactive thyroid again, but you've not got a thyroid.
Oh, strange.
So I had to wait a month for an answer to work out what they wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And in the
how
meantime, I
frustrating.
had my first consultation back with the surgeon, who says to me, "No, we do this, we do that." So it was resolved
Yeah.
before the doctor get back to me.
And it seems like a lot of the thyroid stuff, it's very cookie cutter. Everybody's just going to get the same treatment.
Yeah,
And
very
they
much
shouldn't.
so.
No, no.
Very
And
much so.
I used to work in the biochemistry lab
Yeah.
when I did thyroxine and
Yeah.
all the precursors and everything. And it was just as well because they were going to do the wrong thing with me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what are the results.
Mm-hmm.
And the precursor showed that my thyroid was in 3 months would be back to normal.
Yeah.
So I didn't need it
Ah.
removed. And they
That's
got
Wow.
bothered with that.
See, that's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I
Yeah.
wish she had done the things like that with me.
Yeah.
Because I was basically told, well, you can't, you've not got much options here. You can't either that, you're going to need to get radiation. And I was like, well, I can't
Oh.
get the radiation because one, I've got pets who need me every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and two, my grandchildren. I'm usually back and forward with my grandchildren. I said, I can't do that. I just,
No.
it just doesn't fit in. I
No.
says, if I do the radiation, okay, it's not so good. So, is that a cure? Is that going to take it away? Absolutely not. It'll probably be back very. I was like, what am I doing?
Well, then what's
that?
the point?
So what's
Yeah.
is there more chance of doing the what's going to help me more if to get rid of Graves' disease?
Yeah.
Is the taking the thyroid out or the radiation? Will probably take the thyroid out. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
So that's all.
That's right.
Anyway, I wish somebody
Who's
says
that?
Yeah.
that to me that you had
Yeah.
that
Yes.
Oh my
see that
gosh.
sort of vision.
Yes, it's just because I knew I did T3 and T4 and
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff
Had
like
you
that.
not known.
And because the thyroxine's the end product of a 3-month process,
Yeah.
and they didn't seem to be paying any attention to that. But another thing that I know is that they set levels of normal thyroxine, and they don't really mean much.
No. Well, and what's normal
What's
anymore?
normal for you
Normal is-
doesn't necessarily fit
And
in that
often
range.
normal,
Yeah.
like in the States, normal ranges on all these different blood tests and things
Uh-huh.
are more of what the average in that
It's more
geographical
the
area.
average, yes.
It's not what the normal range used to be.
No.
No.
And somebody suggested that women who more get Graves' disease more than men, when they first go to a doctor for a pregnancy test,
Mhm.
that the doctor, it would be a good idea if the doctor did a thyroxine level.
Yeah.
Because these people are usually young, they haven't a problem,
Yeah.
and that would tell them what a normal thyroxine
Yeah.
for you is.
Get your baseline.
Do you
So
know-
that if you do get a problem later on, that's what
That's
You've got a
really
reference
interesting
point. That's good.
because when my older daughter in Lanzarote, when she was pregnant with Aisha, she's 4 now, she had just had I don't even know if she was diagnosed with Aisha, but anyway, the conversation was at the hospital, and we will do your thyroid check, and I says, well, why are we doing that? And because it's something they do in
Oh,
Lanzarote.
good
It's seen
for
Good.
every
Yes.
pregnant mother in the early
That
first
is
thing.
Wow.
excellent. That's
They're
good.
very on top of things with certain things like that.
Because
and
now
then-
they've got that on record, and
Yeah.
if she has a problem in later life, they will know what's normal for her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And apparently, anybody that's pregnant in Lanzarote gets their thyroid done.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
uses.
don't think that happens here.
No.
There's a lot of things they do different.
Mm.
A lot of things. I mean, they're a bit barbaric at times. I think some of the, but
Yeah.
it works. Their system works in a kind of weird way for us,
Yeah.
but it does. It works well.
You wish you could take the good bits of all
Yeah.
of them
Oh,
and
yes.
put it together.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I truly feel I would not have learned about lipedema if I had not been here in the UK.
Yeah.
Because when we got back from Spain and I got sent to the lymph clinic, Yeah. Thank goodness the GP did that for me. She didn't know about lipedema and thought it was bump, but she thought, oh, I was having lymphedema, and sent me luckily to the lymph clinic, and that's where I found out about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it's very hit and miss.
Yeah.
Everything, really.
Yes. Anything else?